Hello, this is Azure Windwalker from the Amethyst Center, and today we're going to talk about practical shamanism and shamanism in general. So, shamanism is healing from the spiritual into the mental, physical, and emotional bodies. In my studies with the CATS Native American Medicine Society, we looked at people as a medicine wheel composed of those four components. And any disease that expresses itself might be a combination in the background of any of those. So, for instance, if you had the physical disease of diabetes, the mental equivalent is there is no sweetness in life, but there might also be an emotional component of feeling abandoned and not worthwhile. If you are familiar with the work of Louise Hay and You Can Heal Your Life, she has a whole book of mental equivalents of what each disease presents. And it was very interesting last night. I was looking up viruses and looking at the dominant background cause to what's going on in the world today. And we'll cover that at a later date. But how your body expresses wellness is a metaphor. And as an artist, we see metaphor in everything. And American Indians are really big on the metaphors in life. And the reason for that is that we are all connected. We're at one. We're in a unity consciousness. And although we may not really express it so much right now, we're moving back into this unity consciousness. And by working with the unity consciousness, a shaman can tune into spiritual powers and come up with just extraordinary answers to physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual challenges. So, the first thing that I do when I work with anybody, whether it's in a class or whether it's a private healing session, is I call in my spirit doctors, my spiritual helpers, and I work with the angels, the chief healing angels. Most times I work with Archangel Michael and Metatron, but there's other angels that come in according to what is needed. And I also call in the white light spiritual masters, and these are spiritual masters from many times and places and dimensions and times who have agreed to help us out on the earth. And I call not only my team of spiritual masters, but the client's team of spiritual masters, or in the case of a class or a workshop, everybody's spiritual masters. So it gets to be a big crowd and people can feel it. I also call in and welcome the spirit of nature. And since my training was in American Indian, White Buffalo Calf Woman is a spirit of nature to me, and Pan comes from my Celtic side, and to not say from the South American side, so you can, insert the spirit of nature from whatever your cultural background is. The fourth aspect of this healing is your divine center or your Christ consciousness, whatever you call it. It's the divinity that's within you, that's connected and one with all that is. And it's a four-part formula. You can read a little bit about this formula in the book The White Brotherhood Medical Assistance Program by Michelle. It's Machellle, small right. And she teaches you how to do map sessions. So part of my healing's like an extended version of a map session. And we were taught something similar when I apprenticed in the Cats Medicine Society, but she put together such a wonderful formula. It's easy to follow, And the cool thing about it is that when you read the book, it's kind of like getting a attunement, and you can learn how to do the mat sessions for yourself. And I've gotten through some really heavy duty challenges myself, uh, asking the angels and the spirit of nature and the white light brotherhood and my own Christ consciousness to come in and work on me. And they do, and miracles happen. It's amazing. Uh, the second thing that I do when I do a private healing session is I have little medicine bags, and at a later date, I'll show you exactly what they look like. But behind me, you can see two of the altars, and the medicine bags are like a miniature version of artwork that I've done that represent the Gateway Healing System, which was a healing system presented in the book Earthways by Mary Summerrain from a Chippewa medicine woman by the name of No Eyes. And No Eyes was pretty famous. There was even a movie made from her prophecies. And so I illustrated her system, which is the chakras, but a little bit different from the East Indian chakras. And they also are different stages of ascension. And they were given to her by Nature Spirit and by the friendly, beneficial star nations. And I've been working with this system for something like 35 years. And so here in our barn healing sanctuary, we have each one of the altars in the directions that they belong in, with the artwork, with the herbs, with the stones, with the little something of the animal that's represented in these little medicine bags. And as soon as we put them up on the wall, this became a healing temple. So we're already in a very high energetic space, but these balance the energy out. So just sitting here, you get a healing, and I'm hoping and praying that this energy comes out to you from this space, and I'm pretty sure it does. So these little bags we place on the chakras of the person's body, and the first attunement that we received and channeled from the white light masters was a dance of 13 circles, counterclockwise and then clockwise. The purpose of this dance, and sometimes it's actually going around the table, around the massage table where the client's laying, and sometimes it's just with the rattle. But the purpose of it is to bring your soul back into its perfect blueprint, its perfect form. And once you accept that and really know it, then everything else seems to kind of fall into line, to fall into place. The next step after that is often cutting cords. And so let me explain that. Between you and people and places and things and situations, there's energy cords that run between you and those people. And many times there's good cords, there's beneficial ones, and there's ones that are not so beneficial, which drain your energy or manipulate you. And so I ask that the non-beneficial cords show up and kind of shine, and then with my shaman's hands, and these become like phantom fingers, we cut the cords between you and whoever needs to be cleared away from you, the non-beneficial cords. And then people say afterwards that they feel much freer, not so drugged down, and they have more energy because they aren't being manipulated so much. And some people are kind of like energy vampires, and so we clear that away. But we leave the good cords, we leave the beneficial ones, which may be to the same person. Then often we do soul retrieval. Okay, so this is the deal about soul retrieval. Everybody, the reason why we came to Earth is to have experiences in order for our soul to grow and experience and become more masterful. And to do that, we have to go through challenges. So sometimes that's trauma, sometimes that's a breakup. Um, it can happen in many ways, and this trauma goes down through many lifetimes. So, for instance, someone who um, has an issue with abandonment in a past life, they may experience the same thing, just in a different soap opera. And then if you go back to the very beginning of where it started and clear that, and then uh, the different lines, then you really don't have to experience that so much anymore. So, um, because of this trauma, pieces and parts of your soul will go missing in action. They'll go to another dimension, basically out of self preservation. And so, a good shamanic practitioner is able to retrieve some of those lost soul parts and blow them back into your body and reconnect them with your DNA, with your cells, your molecules, your organs, with your physical body. And instantly, I mean, it's pretty amazing. Instantly, you can look at the person and there's more shine behind their eyes because there's more of them there. And when the soul parts are retrieved, they become more attractive to that which they're here for, their soul purpose, uh, their gifts, their talents, their abundance. Um, it's as if it's like one of those old time electrical magnets that we used to use when I was in radio, and you could turn the energy up and it would be a stronger magnet. That's what happens when you've got more of your soul pieces and parts back. So it's a very, very, very beneficial thing. And because we're in the time that we're in here during the great shift, there's many soul pieces and parts that are almost like right in front of your face, knocking at the door saying, let me in, let me in, let me in. So I don't have to travel far to bring those pieces back. Um, I asked the angels in charge of soul retrieval to put the ones who are the most important to the person for whatever challenges they're experiencing right now, to put them in the head of the line. And sometimes, usually, everybody can get one back, but sometimes two. It all depends on what's going on energetically on the planet and how strong the person's constitution is. So when we bring that soul piece back, we say, I love you and welcome home. And I'm able to give kind of a play-by-play of what has happened, and whether it's this lifetime or another lifetime where this piece comes from, and tell a little story about it. And it's pretty amazing because most of the people I work about, I don't really know anything much about them and don't really want to. I don't want my intuition and my guidance to be skewed in any way. But they tell me like, oh, well, that's perfect because this and this happened to me and this happened to me, and and it makes perfect sense. And a lot of people uh, have issues with abandonment, uh, and that it has to do with fathers. And this is more like a metaphor. I'll see like a father's pant leg, and the little girl or the little boy hugging their father's leg. And if it's a little girl, they have patent leather shoes on with a little lace on them. It's just a metaphor. And so when you clear that trauma that has to do with abandonment, which is a big issue for a lot of people, the relationship with their actual fathers, if they're still alive, or other male, um, like people that you work with, father figures, men in leadership, uh, boyfriends, husbands, is better because you don't transfer that abandonment on to the other people so much. So, soul retrieval is really worthwhile right now and is one of the things that kind of like needs to happen uh, for people to continue on. So I make the people go look in the mirror and they see their eyes are more sparkly, and it's evidence that there's more of them there. So it's really a wonderful thing. Another thing that we've been doing a lot like lately with people is strengthening their auric boundaries. And further on in the course, you will learn a golden egg energy shield. And so I project that onto my clients so that the negativity that comes in gets neutralized by a cobalt blue. On the outside is a golden mirror full of the energy of the sun that bounces back um, energy from AI and Wi-Fi and electronic kind of things. Um, Inside the cobalt blue is love, pink love, and then right next to your skin is a kind of like a super person suit made out of the violet flame. So the energy comes in, it catches the love, the violet flame, bounces back out to the cinder and to the environment. And so you become more attractive to people who are vibing in a love and transmutation place of the violet flame. So it works to help the environment and it works to help you because the negativity gets turned to love and the violet flame. So that's very important for people to be protected and that their boundaries remain strong. Many women here in the South need work on their boundaries. A lot of folks are kind of people pleasers and don't take very good care of themselves. And having strong boundaries is part of that. Um, there's a number of other things. Sometimes exorcism needs to happen, just release of spirit attachments. And it's not that big of a deal because a lot of people pick up spirit attachments. What happens is when you've gone through a lot of trauma, or if you've had physical trauma like a car wreck or something and hit your head, you may have holes in your aura. Addictions also cause a weak holy aura. So we'll patch that up energetically and we'll clear the non-beneficial entities that are attached onto the person and send them up to the light so they can go through their process on the other side. And so after that, the person becomes a lot more strong energetically and or no longer manipulated so much by another being's consciousness. So you're much more free. There's a number of other techniques that are used in a typical session. One is something that I call the rainbow garment, and it's done with the rattle that crisscrosses the body, and it makes your aura stronger. It's the difference between a cheap sheet and like a 400 count Egyptian sheet. It just makes it more refined. And we do this right before people leave. So they walk out of here protected in a strong state, because when you're in non-ordinary reality, you don't want just to immediately go out into the cold, cruel, crazy energy world. you need some extra protection. So that's what we do. And that's the typical first session. Um, the second session has to do with releasing core trauma. Uh, it's a shamanic journey. And so it's a collaboration between myself and the clients. And so in the shamanic journey, we start out breathing, doing circular earth sun breathing to stay powered up. And then we move into what we call the medicine place. And this is a place where you're happy and secure and peaceful, place out in nature. We stay there and are strengthened by that place for a while. Then we walk through a field of long green grass and up a little hill and down a hill. And we look, and there's a cave, and that cave is actually the entrance to one of your chakras where your trauma is held. And usually we find that out in the first sessions, by which chakras are weak or strong, because we fix those up. So we journey down into that chakra, and we go to a place that is in the present. And how we clear the trauma, we do it in 4 ways. The first way we do it is through something that's called neuro-linguistic programming, where you turn the pictures and the sounds and the feelings backwards. So what's large you make small, what's small you make large, what's little you make big, the voices you make little and squeaky. If they were yelling at you, you make everything backwards. And then we bring in, we kind of get that energy and turn it into an energy ball, and we give that energy ball to the little people who help, and they put it in a burden basket, which will eventually be taken up by the white eagle. And then we go into clearing it out of the cells. We clear the memory out of DNA. And we ask the angels to help out, because they can do things that we can't do. We don't even know, the angels and the spiritual masters. And they step in and they do a bunch of work. And people are surrounded by hundreds and thousands of angels and spiritual masters, all putting their hands up, sending energy. It's quite an experience. It's wonderful for me. And then we drum them into the next doorway, the second doorway, which is the past. We go through the same routine. And then finally we go to where it began. And people go back to the 1600s. People go back to Native Americans. Some people have gone all the way back to cavemen times. Some people go back to Atlantis. Some people go back to other places and other planets. And we clear that trauma. And it's as if when you remove the engine on the train, which is what we do when we get clear on the core trauma, all the other trains on the car, which is the past and the present and everything in between, just kind of break away and fall away. And it's really free. It's really freeing. It makes a huge difference in people's life. And people have made great changes after going through this experience. As souls, we come here to learn and grow and experience and conquer challenges. And therefore, we have to have certain traumas to get to where we're going. If we lived on a planet where nothing challenging ever happened, we really wouldn't want to be there. First of all, it would be kind of boring. And second of all, we wouldn't advance very fast. So it's said that souls who bring in the most challenges for themselves really want to grow fast. So that may be some solace in what you've experienced in your life. Um, and there's some other things that go with the core trauma release, but I see what I see. I give them a play by play of what's happening, and then they talk about what they've seen and what they felt, and it weaves together a story that's really very interesting, very interesting. And so when we bring these soul parts back in the soul retrieval, which happens again after the core trauma release, then we work on bringing back the soul parts from those trauma lifetimes. We always say, I love you and welcome home. So the homework is to look at your eyes in the mirror, because your eyes is the gateway to your soul, and tell those soul parts that came back in, I love you and welcome home. And you have to do this for 10 days. And then also for homework is drinking lemon water and doing salt baths, because this work is pretty deep and pretty intense, and you want to clear out the rest of the toxins that might be stirred up. Um, I've kind of created or channeled a lot of these techniques or combined them with other things I've learned over the years. But every time I work with somebody, there's something new. I'm never bored. It's really exciting, and it's fun for me, and it's very gratifying because you can see changes in people's lives for the better, and they build much better foundation for wellness on all levels, and generally speaking, are much happier people. So I give thanks to you for listening and for your consideration. If you want to work with me in any way, either in private sessions or classes or in taking the online course. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. There's a Iroquois thing that's Asati, 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 Asati. 3 times 3 throughout eternity, we give thanks and walk in balance.